Okay, David, I'm confused. Last time you talked about lifting humor from a blog, and in the first Insuring Your Insurance vlog, you talked about having writers. But clearly you're making some of this stuff up yourself. That's true. A whole team goes into making these vlogs, like with the Mayflower joke and the parachute joke from last time. That joke was lifted from the original Telios blog and required literally no work from me. By comparison, Egil Skallagrimsson, that was my own addition. As you watch my vlogs, I'll bet you get used to picking out what is my creative mind and what is the creative hive mind. And obviously, as I'm not actually a lawyer, most of the technical details are coming either from hours and hours of painstaking research on my part, as in the case of the usual stupid things, or from the original Telios Blogs, as in the case of this series. Seriously though, if you really want to drink knowledge from the fire hydrant of wisdom, you should check out the Telios Blogs. They're great. Today, I'd like to talk about historical liability. Last time on Insuring Your Insurance, we talked about the importance of when claims occur and the importance of documenting your insurance to determine which policy that claim falls under. But how does that actually work practically? Well, for your consideration, an insurer doesn't want to be on the hook for claims that happened during their tenure for centuries and centuries. And businesses don't want to have to worry about claims that may come up from decades prior involving employees who are long gone from the organization. And investigators and judges don't want to have to routinely dredge the past for long cold leads and long dead evidence. Thus, most jurisdictions have a statute of limitation for most types of lawsuits. These limit, hence the name, the amount of time a plaintiff has to assert against a tortfeasor. And a tortfeasor is just a fancy word for a person who commits a tort. However, even with statutes of limitations, old injuries can still generate liability. This is because of discovery. Basically, it means that the statute of limitations clock doesn't begin to tick until after the plaintiff discovers, or at least should have discovered, the injury. So, for example, if you get irradiated working at the Gamma power plant and develop superpowers, great. But then you might find out 20 years later that, hey, you're now infertile. Not so great. So you sue. The statute of limitations lets you sue in this case because while it's been 20 years since you got injured, you had no idea you were injured until literally just now. By comparison, say the radiation turned you into an obvious giant green screaming monster with super strength, who we will leave unnamed for satirical copyright reasons. And maybe, being a giant green screaming monster, you find that while your superpowers are excellent, the screaming green part of the arrangement has left your online dating profile something of a cold and desolate place 20 years later. Well, in that case, the tortfeasor is going to be able to argue, how did you not know your love life was going to be impacted by becoming a giant green screaming monster? You are literally a giant green screaming monster. In that case, you may find the statute of limitations has run out, since you probably should have known about the damages at the time you turned into the Incredible Hulk. Another situation where liability can occur is by way of what's called a revival statute. These are laws that suspend or amend the normal statute of limitations. So, for example, following the Me Too movement, a whole bunch of states amended their laws to allow plaintiffs to sue for sexual abuses that occurred in the past beyond the standard statute of limitations. Oh no, panic, you may say. Neither I, nor my predecessor, nor my predecessor's predecessors, nor their predecessors kept records of our organization's policies from the Mayflower. That's pretty common, especially for small businesses and ministries. Now, it's not okay, but it is common. And because it's common, there is such a thing as insurance archaeology. Depending on what you think about archaeology, this is either far less exciting or just as exciting as it sounds. Basically, you're following a paper trail. You consult your organization's current insurance provider. If you switch policies while using the same carrier or even the same broker, those parties will usually have archives. And I mean, they're required by law to do so for a specified number of years, so they better have those archives. And if you work with attorneys or law firms, you can consult with people who've represented you in the past. There is a good chance they'll have your organization on file, and in that file, they will probably have references to past insurance coverage. Those might be sparse, but they should be there. Should your efforts to dig up the past till no results, you can hire the insurance equivalent of Indiana Jones, aka a professional insurance archaeologist. Bringing it all together, typically, occurrence insurance will cover claims within its scope and during its coverage period. Claims do have a shelf life, and injuries reported in the past beyond the statute of limitations won't typically result in a claim. Despite this, past claims can result in liability and costs by way of investigations into when a claim was discovered. Depending on when the claim was discovered, it could circumvent the statute of limitations, and statutes of limitations can be changed, and discovery itself costs money. Because of this, you need to keep a robust record of your past policies, what they covered, what the duration was of that coverage, and if you don't have a record, consult with your insurance provider and any legal counsel you've employed. And if that fails you, you can hire a specialist. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Stupid Things People Do and What We Can Learn From Them, Insuring Your Insurance Edition. I won't see you next week since I'm having a kid and I need to take some time off, but we'll be picking up soon with a new series of Stupid Things People Do and What We Can Learn From Them. It's going to be on investigations. Look forward to talking to you then.